Welcome back, everyone. Today we're tackling a question that's probably crossed all our minds at some point. How do you really know if she's the one?
It's a big one, right? A question for the ages.
For sure. And luckily, we've got some interesting perspectives to help us out today. We've got this video from Jordan Peterson, the clinical psychologist, where he gives some relationship advice.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that one. He always has some interesting insights.
He does. And we're also looking at this online article from eHarmony, listing 10 signs she might be the one. So we're covering both the psychological and the, maybe a little more practical side of things.
Sounds like a good mix.
Let's start with Peterson's thoughts. He talks a lot about personality and how it plays into compatibility, especially the big 5 personality traits.
Openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Those ones, right?
Exactly. And Peterson's point is that generally, similarities in these traits can really make for a more harmonious relationship.
Yeah, when you think about it, it makes sense. Like, if you're both super conscientious, you're probably on the same page when it comes to things like organization, responsibility.
Even down to how you pack for a trip.
Exactly. It makes everyday life a bit smoother,
For sure. But imagine the opposite. Like, say you're someone who loves being spontaneous, always up for a last-minute adventure.
And your partner needs a detailed itinerary for everything. Could definitely lead to some disagreements.
Yeah. But Peterson's point goes beyond just vacations. He's saying these core personality traits, they affect how you communicate, how you handle disagreements, just about everything.
It's a foundation, really. So figuring out where you align on those traits can be pretty important.
Okay, but here's where it gets kind of interesting. When it comes to neuroticism, that tendency to worry or get stressed easily, Peterson actually suggests someone highly neurotic might be better off with a partner who's more laid back, more stable.
It's like a calming influence, maybe. I mean, a highly neurotic person might feel more secure with someone who can help them navigate those anxieties.
So maybe a little bit of opposites attract can be a good thing in those cases, at least when it comes to balancing out those emotional tendencies.
Not necessarily total opposites across the board, but finding that sweet spot where your personalities complement each other.
Now, of course, Peterson also talks about things like attraction and trust, which you can't exactly measure on a personality test.
Totally. Those are the intangible things, the stuff that goes beyond the data points. I remember he even asked this question in the video. Can you really force attraction if that initial spark isn't there?
It makes you think.
Yeah.
Right. Can you really will yourself into being attracted to someone?
Seems like there has to be that genuine connection, at least to some degree.
No faking chemistry, I guess.
And then there's trust. Peterson's very clear that trust, along with the ability to negotiate and compromise, those are things you got to work on throughout the entire relationship.
No happily ever after without putting in the effort.
Not according to him. He really debunks that myth. Even in the most loving relationships, you're going to hit bumps in the road. It's about finding someone who can weather those storms with you, not someone who you think will somehow make all the problems disappear.
So more like finding a partner in navigating those choppy waters.
Exactly. Someone you trust to ride the waves alongside you. Okay, so that's Peterson's take, diving deep into personality, attraction, and trust. But we also have this eHarmony article taking a more practical approach with its 10 signs she might be the one.
What's interesting is it touches on a lot of the same themes as Peterson, just from a more, like you said, practical and maybe behavioral perspective.
I'm curious to see how they line up.
Me too. So one of the first things that jumped out at me in the eHarmony article was this idea of your partner bringing out the best in you.
That's a good one. Not just about feeling good when you're together, but about actually inspiring each other to grow.
It really got me thinking, has being with this woman had a positive impact on my goals, my aspirations? Do I feel more motivated, more driven to achieve things? Not because she's pushing me, but because I want to be my best self for her.
That's powerful stuff. And that's what the article's getting at, right? It's about finding someone who encourages you to step up your game, to become a better version of yourself.
The article also talks about active listening.
Oh, yeah, which Peterson didn't specifically mention, but it kind of ties in with his points about communication and negotiation, doesn't it?
Totally. Active listening. It's not just about hearing the words. It's about being present, paying attention to her nonverbal cues, asking questions to make sure you really understand, not just what you think she's saying.
So it's about making her feel heard and understood, which can be huge in a relationship.
Absolutely. And that leads to another important point from the eHarmony article. Feeling safe, being vulnerable.
That's a big one. I mean, being vulnerable can be scary, but it's so important for building that deep connection.
It really is. It's about being able to let your guard down, share your fears and insecurities, and know that you won't be judged or rejected for it, which, it takes courage.
It does. But the article makes the point that having a partner who supports and encourages your vulnerability, it makes it easier to open up. And that can really strengthen the relationship in the long run.
Creates that foundation of trust and intimacy.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, the article also highlights the importance of shared future plans. Does she include you in her plans, both big and small? Do you talk about your hopes and dreams for the future? And do those visions line up? Are you building a life together, not just existing side by side?
That's a great way to put it, building a life together. And the eHarmony article also emphasizes the importance of a connection that goes beyond the physical.
Right. Having shared interests, values, and a genuine friendship at the core of the relationship, can you enjoy spending time together, even when you're not doing anything exciting? Can you laugh together, have those late night talks, really enjoy each other's company?
Because that initial passion and excitement, it's going to ebb and flow over time. But that strong friendship, the shared sense of humor, those are the things that can help you get through the ups and downs.
So it's like having a best friend who you're also deeply in love with.
I like that. And speaking of ups and downs, the article also mentions the importance of accepting each other's flaws.
We all have them, right? It's part of being human.
Exactly. No one's perfect. And it makes me wonder, does she see your imperfections as just part of who you are, encouraging growth without judgment? Because real love isn't about finding someone who's perfect. It's about finding someone who loves you for who you are, flaws and all.
And helps you become a better version of yourself, even with those flaws. It's like we're painting this picture of what a strong relationship looks like, But there's this point the eHarmony article brings up, this feeling of just knowing she's the one. Like, it's almost intuitive.
Yeah. That deep emotional connection, like everything just clicks. You feel comfortable. You can be yourself completely.
Totally. And there's that sense of peace, of belonging when you're with her.
It's almost like, what's that saying? Home is not a place, it's a person.
Yeah. Like you just sense she's special, someone you're meant to be with.
The article uses some pretty vivid language to describe it too, like feeling like you can finally exhale, finding your safe harbor.
Okay, but as much as that intuition can be powerful, we probably shouldn't get so swept up in the romance that we ignore the practical stuff, right?
Oh, absolutely. Don't throw out all the fundamentals just because you got butterflies. Still got to make sure you can build a life together.
Peterson talks about that too. It's not about finding someone who completes you, but someone who complements you, adds something to your life.
And who you can add value to in return, right? Mutual respect and all that.
Definitely. But, growth can be messy. What about those times when you just don't agree? The eHarmony article brings up how she handles conflict. Because let's face it, every couple argues.
For sure. Can't avoid disagreements completely. It's more about how you approach them. Can you disagree respectfully? Actually listen to each other's perspective.
And find solutions that work for both of you.
Exactly. The article suggests, if you can argue constructively, work through it in a healthy way, that's actually a really good sign.
Shows you've got the communication skills, the maturity to handle those challenges together.
And that you're committed to finding solutions, not just winning the argument. Which, that brings us back to trust, something both Peterson and the eHarmony article really stress. Do you feel secure in the relationship? Can you be open and honest with her without fear of judgment?
Can you trust her to have your back no matter what?
Those are big questions, and if you can answer them with a resounding yes, well, that points to a pretty solid foundation.
Like you've built that safe space, where you can both be yourselves knowing you're accepted, loved unconditionally.
Being able to let your guard down, face those challenges, knowing you've got each other's support, it's pretty powerful.
Wow, we've covered a lot. Personality, attraction, trust, communication, conflict, shared values, and then that whole knowing feeling. It's a lot to consider.
It really is. But I think what both these sources are getting at is that finding the one isn't some checklist you can just tick off.
More like finding someone you connect with on a soul level.
That's a good way to put it. Someone you can be yourself with completely. Someone who makes you laugh, challenges you, supports you through thick and thin.
And someone you can build a life with, a life that's, full of love and adventure and growth, all that good stuff.
So thinking about your relationship, all those things we talked about, the way she makes you feel, how you communicate, how you handle those tough times, what you want for the future, it's all part of the picture.
And don't forget that gut feeling.
If it feels right, if you've got that spark, that connection, that sense of knowing, well, well, maybe she is the one.
Well, that about wraps it up for this deep dive. We'll catch you all next time for another deep dive.
Until then, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep searching for that love that makes life richer and more meaningful.